Hey everybody, this is TJR. Since June 29th up until this last weekend, 4 advanced tracks from the upcoming remastered version of Led Zeppelin, The Song Remains the Same, have been released. And I thought I should do a quick little follow-up to my initial video about this release and just react to how the advanced tracks sound and what I think of the remasters. And quite frankly, I'm pretty impressed, to be honest. Now, if you saw my last video on this, you know that this was never a favorite of mine, this particular album. In fact, this is the only Led Zeppelin album that I can actually say I was disappointed with. I was disappointed with the film when I first saw it, and I was disappointed with the soundtrack. In fact, I have only ever owned this album as part of the Japanese, I believe it was called the Ultimate Box Set Edition. I don't think I've ever even played this, and nor have I imported it into my iTunes. This faithfully reproduces all the original album packaging. The one thing that surprised me, I decided to take a look at this, and I didn't know this. I thought this had the original track listing, the way it was released in the 70s when it was first released on vinyl. Instead, this has the newer remastered track listing from several years back, wherein a lot of additional tracks were added to this to help fill out the set once it came out on CD, because they could simply fit more tracks. So I was surprised to find that out. I have to admit, I don't know, is it just time has changed how I feel about it, or did the remasters make that big of a difference? But I was pretty impressed with this. Now, Misty Mountain Hop and The Ocean are both tracks that I'm pretty sure were not included in the original 70s release, which I no longer own a copy of. I heard it a long time ago, but not anymore. Both of these tracks, really solid, these live tracks. And I have to wonder why Misty Mountain Hop was not included on the original release. I know for sure that one wasn't, because I remember being very surprised to see it when it was re-released in a previous remastered edition. But both of these really solidly done. I love how Jimmy deals with the whole lead guitar solo section of The Ocean, because there's a lot of different things going on, a lot of overdubbing that he did in the studio, and he had to find a way to just make it work without all those overdubs. I like the way he did it. I like the way the whole band handles Misty Mountain Hop as well. Just once again, how they deal with the fact that they can't do all the overdubs live that they did in the studio. And I also have to add, when a lot of today's bands will carry, tracks for the overdubs that they can't perform live, even when Led Zeppelin got back together, they could have done that. They could have had those backing tracks, but they didn't. They handled it as a straight up, 4-piece band, and as a trio as far as just musicians, guitar, bass, and drums, with John Paul Jones occasionally going to keyboards. But I appreciate how they stuck to that exactly the way they did it back in the day. Now, the 2 other tracks that have already been pre-released are, of course, Rock and Roll and Black Dog. Now, both of those were on the original 70s release. I know this because I remember them from when I sat and watched the film when I was a teenager. And Rock and Roll, this particular live version, was probably one of my least favorites off the original release. Even listening to it now, a number of things have always sounded kind of off to me in this version. The opening guitar riff sounds flubbed. Bonham's tempo seems to fluctuate noticeably at times, and there are parts where it feels like the band feels a bit lost with each other, as if they're not sure where their fellow bandmates are in the song. I want to add that as a musician, I understand how this can happen. Even to the best of musicians, there are sometimes situations where the live conditions are less than ideal, or there are issues with the monitors. Different things happen that cause that, and I've experienced it myself in live performance. So I completely sympathize. I totally understand. But to this day, I wonder, wow, how did they let this version on the album? I would have chosen a different live take if I could have, or just not included it. Now, that said, what does work about this live version, because it's not all bad, there are some good things happening, but what does work becomes more accentuated in this remaster, I will say that much. Doesn't do anything to help the parts that still bother me about it, but hey, I've already discussed that. Now, Black Dog, of course, once again, this is from the original release, and I think the remaster helps it an awful lot. And Jimmy Page really shines on the guitar during the solo of this song, and I think that became even more evident when I listened to this remaster. So all in all, I'd have to say, for what I've oftentimes referred to as my least favorite Led Zeppelin album. I'm very excited to check out this new remaster, and I think I'm going to have to play this one here. I don't think I've ever put it in my iTunes. In fact, I know I haven't put it in my iTunes, and I know I've never played it. And I'm going to have to just listen to it for the next couple days leading up to the re-release and just compare it once that comes out. Anyways, everybody, what did you think? Have you checked out the 4 advanced tracks? Let me know your thoughts. And as always, if you like what I do, please be sure to click subscribe, click like, and be sure to click notifications so you can know when I make new releases. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.